Peace reflections. You are over here with Tarithia. Hit the like and subscribe button because I have officially landed and I got my whole crew with me. And you know how we do. We are headed over here to these Mardi Gras streets, baby. What's going over there in New Orleans, baby? You know I gotta see what's going on over there, baby. That's where I get my baby from Toya, from the Nola, baby. Okay. Now, with that being said, reflection, hit the like and subscribe button. Because today or tonight, whenever you hit this video, we are here talking about what's going on in New Orleans. Now, we all know reflection about Mardi Gras. If you haven't heard about Mardi Gras, hopefully after this video, you will have a better understanding of what really goes on down in the bottom reflection. I ain't talking about where the girls get naked. I'm not talking about where the girls get naked. Now, we all know about Mardi Gras. Go have a good time. Go celebrate the spirits reflection. Have a couple drinks. Roll up, pull up. But do you know about the other side of New Orleans? And you like, Taretha, what is you talking about the other side of New Orleans? Well, reflection. I'm talking about the streets you shouldn't go down. I'm talking about who you shouldn't talk to. I'm talking about you may don't want to get full of them spirits. What do they call what is it on the liquor store? It say wine and what? Spirits. It say spirits for a reason. Reflection it says spirits for a reason. Now, with that being said, hit the like and subscribe button. Remember, everything over here is for educational purposes only. Everything over here is alleged. It's what I heard up the street, run the block up the corner. Okay.
Yeah, we got the Casket Girls, also known as the Vampires, over there on Chartres and Ursuline. So in 1727, the King of France sent over about 6 white girls, pale, bad skin, bloodshot red eyes, right? Sent them over there to come over there downtown to New Orleans. So upon arrival, the Casket Girls was looked down upon, rightfully so. Blisters all over their skin, bloodshot red eyes. You can tell they had all type of diseases, just dirty. It looked as though they couldn't stand to be underneath the sun, you heard me? These girls eventually went into prostitution and sex work because of the mistreatment in their marriages. Now, at the time, the only people that would take these girls was the Ursuline nuns. So because of their mistreatment and how nobody down there in the city was really messing with them like that, the King of France ordered them to come home. Now, when he ordered them to come home, the Ursuline nuns was the ones that housed them until they was able to go home. So these nuns eventually took them up to a 3rd floor, which was nailed shut, and all the windows was closed off where no sunlight could come through the windows. So they told them that they could be on the 3rd floor. They put them up there on the 3rd floor, put their luggage on the 3rd floor, and left. After about a few moments, maybe a few hours then passed, they go check on the 3rd floor. The girls was gone. Now when they come back and they see the girls gone, they check the luggage and nothing was in there. None of their clothes, none of the stuff that they had that was in there, everything was gone. After finding this out, the nuns went and bolted the 3rd floor shut. So it was even blessed by the Pope itself that nobody can go on the 3rd floor, you heard me? Now, if you still want to go over there and see the church, it's over there on Chartres and Ursuline. You can go ahead over there if you...
He said, you won't take your ass over there. That's up to you. But I done told you it's some strange activities. Hit the like and subscribe. If you over here with Taretha, we talk about New Orleans. I done told you it's some strange activities. They disappeared. They went clean through the motherfucking wall. Reflection. Did you hear what he just said?
We back. Part 3. Before you come to New Orleans, you heard me? We got the Witch of the Opera House, you heard me? Margaret. Her story began back in like the 1860s or 70s or something like that, you heard me? I think Love was a beautiful actress or aspiring to be actress because she didn't really even have the skills to be like a great actress, but she was beautiful. So she wound up getting a little job over there at the French Opera House, right? So having a job over there, you know, after some time, they wound up getting rid of her. They wound up firing her, you heard me, because she really didn't have the skill set to be able to keep the people keep coming back in. Then after that, she wound up opening up a little bakery. She opened up the bakery, but she wasn't a baker, so she didn't even know how to really be baking either. So she had to go out there and look for somebody who was a baker. She come across this handsome man. They wound up falling in love with each other, you heard me? They get together, they rock out for a few years, they get an apartment together, right? But kind of find out this over there cheating. She leave the fucking crib enraged, go back home, start going crazy, right? Then she come back where the cheating at the apartment. She goes and she around and turned the gas thing on while the fireplace was on and killed the people.
Chef and the mistress suffocated, and Marguerite broke into the opera house and hung herself from the chandelier in her old costume, which she'd stolen from the production.
So she kills them people, leaves the apartment, goes back to the opera house where the theater was, go back over there, and she hung herself on the chandelier. Instead, they say today, if you go around there, I mean, it's not up there no more, but they got like other places and bars in that same area. So they say like sometimes at night, if you go around there, you can still hear her screaming at night about her lost love. Like, she's still going crazy over this. Soul ties is real, baby.
They say that you can still hear her and see her screaming for her lost love in the street where the opera house once stood.
All right, then you got the vampire New Orleans, Jacques Saint Germain. Jacques Saint Germain is shrouded in all type of mystery, you heard me? They say he was a French vampire. And with him, when he came down there to New Orleans, right, supposedly, after the French Revolution, he disappeared. At about 100 and something years later, he wound up appearing in New Orleans. So when he came down there in the French Quarter and he appeared in New Orleans, he started throwing these parties. Like, he was considered to be very wealthy. He was considered to be a part of royalty in a certain extent as well. Like, oh, he knew royalty. So if you look up his documents, you do the research on him, you'll see that he was a high figure in society. So he wound up throwing all these little parties in the French Quarter, throwing them parties, sipping red wine, ordering all this amazing food. So you got the guests in there, and the guests peeping how he never eating the food. So he always throwing these parties and have all this amazing food in New Orleans. And you know New Orleans food is amazing. New Orleans food is crazy. Like, if you ain't eating no New Orleans food, they gonna look at you like, baby, why you not eating this food? What's wrong with you? So people started putting the two together like, something is up with this dude. We gotta watch him, you hear me? So bam, he was a man of knowledge. He was very talented. He would be able to play all the instruments extremely well. Like, the guests would say he know how to play the instruments like he been playing this thing for hundreds of years, right? Any instrument, very knowledgeable, very well rounded. So bam, a lady at night wound up jumping off the top balcony, running from this nigga, claiming that he was trying to bite her in the neck. She goes tell the police authorities. The police pull up. They go pull up on him. They found out that, oh, he got all this red wine that y'all sipping ain't no red wine.
Baffled, the cops noticed the only things left behind were a couple of bottles of Jacques' red wine that he would drink at every party, never allowing anyone else to have some. One officer opened the bottle and took a sip, and he began to vomit and gag as the bottle smashed the floor into a million pieces. Jacques had been drinking a combination of human blood and absinthe to keep the blood from coagulating. Jacques was never seen again or heard from again, and his story is still one of the great mysteries and intrigues of New Orleans.
Mysteries say that he's still alive. He's still out there roaming around. Then you got the vampire restaurants. Listen, go out there and see, you hear me?
Today, there's a man named Jack who roams around the French Quarter claiming to be an actual descendant of the original Jacques Saint Germain. Watch yourself around him, though.
Ooh, reflection. What's really going on down there in New Orleans? Did you hear about this? Did you know what's reflection? I'm trying to tell you.
Part 2 before you come to New Orleans, you heard me? Understand this. Jackson Square. When you're around Jackson Square, please understand that it was an execution block for the slaves. So, it was a place where they publicly executed the Haitian people and the African people.
Located in the infamous French Quarter in New Orleans, Jackson Square is riddled with terrifying spirits wreaking vengeance. Historically, the square was used for public executions, and it's believed that all who died there haunt the grounds looking for revenge on those who took their life. Those that walk through have felt like they're being followed or seen unexplainable lights and shadows in their photos, and all leave feeling confused and scared that something was trying to get them. So if you are planning to visit, just be careful where you step foot, because you might not be so lucky as those that have tried before.
The souls are still roaming, their souls still out there, and you might feel like you're being followed sometimes. Learn how to tap in with the energy though. Everything isn't bad, everything isn't negative, everything isn't wicked. Learn how to tap in with your ancestors. Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. That was a church where they housed bodies. It was like a morgue. So they would house the bodies before they have to take it over there to the St. Louis Cemetery. You hear me? So you got that over there, baby. When y'all going over there in that church, make sure you be careful.
To date, it is the oldest church in New Orleans, so it's no surprise that it also is one of the most haunted places in the city. Back in the day, the building was used as a sort of pseudo-morgue, where they would house bodies waiting to be transferred to the St. Louis Cemetery.
It's rumored to say that the souls of that church is still roaming around. They stuck to the church, and they still are, you hear me? So be careful when you're visiting it over there. That's very, very, very historical. Very historical place. Very historical place. Very beautiful, too. We got my beautiful woman, Marie Laveau, the Voodoo Queen, over there buried in the St. Louis Cemetery.
I have been to St. Louis #1, and I have seen the tomb of Laveau, seen the fat tourist.
I'm gonna have to cut that one off because he had a little movie scene. He had a little movie scene in that reflection. Hit the like and subscribe button. You even gotta watch the church reflection. You gotta watch because you just never know. You never know. New Orleans, they got some beautiful buildings, some beautiful attractions, reflections, but it also has history. And if you don't know the history reflection, you get what I'm saying, end up on the wrong side of the crossroads.
What's crazy about New Orleans is when you have an argument with somebody, you pretty much gotta kill them. And the reason why is New Orleans is one of them situations where they don't care who you with or where you at or what you into. When I catch you, I'm gonna kill you. I don't care who with you. They shouldn't have been with you. And that's what I think is real up about my city.
Reflection. We don't condone violence over here, but you need to know. You need to know what's going on. You just before you be traveling in shit places, reflection. You got to know what's going on. Don't just look at the hotel prices, the gas prices, and all that shit. You need to know if it's stranger danger. You need to know reflection. That's what Tariq is over here doing. Everything over here is for educational purposes only. Everything over here is what I heard. Now, keep in mind, crime is everywhere. Reflection. You can't go nowhere across this United States. I don't care how apple pie they may make it seem. Reflection, it's crime everywhere. Just because it ain't being televised don't mean it's not crime there, okay? So don't feel like anybody from New Orleans in the building. We not trying to say it like your city just all bad. We not saying that, reflection, but we are saying we need to be aware of some shit before we just go out there to New Orleans.
Right, baby, listen, I can't give you streets because that's going to take forever. The best way to explain it is when you start getting to the edge of the French Quarters, you're going to see less and less people. So when you start seeing less and less people, you're getting close to the edge. Avoid that area at all costs. Stay in populated areas, okay? That's it. That's all. Bye.
She said, baby, let me get straight to the point. When you start seeing the crowd getting thin, you better turn your ass around. Let me say it one more time. If the crowd is getting thin, the crowd was real thick, reflection, y'all was going down the street and shit, and all of a sudden that shit getting thin, it started turning from 20 to 12 to 10 to 4 to, listen, don't be in that number, reflection, don't be in the number.
You gotta be careful out here who you're sleeping with. You never know. You could be sleeping with a witch. Sometimes having sex with a witch, you could be making her manifest and making her magic and her powers increase more than what you even notice, you hear me? So as a man, you got to be very careful because you could be a wizard. You could have a lot of dark energy inside you that she's using to make positive, or you could have a lot of positive energy inside you that she's using to make negative or dark. So you got to be able to watch the women you sleeping with. If you ever had multiple sex partners, then you ever notice sometimes one woman can have sync with the other woman. I remember I would be sleeping with multiple women at one point, and one woman would wake up with the thoughts of the woman I slept with the previous week, meaning that she'll start making the same breakfast that the woman that I was sleeping with last week was making, or she'll have the same thoughts, or she'll start waking up with dreams, knowing what I'm doing or knowing how I'm this. Like, it's because her genetics and her DNA is now starting to secrete with yours, and she's starting to now become more like you, and her strength starts to become more.
Oh, they got warlocks in New Orleans too. Reflection. I know you get what I'm saying. You may get full of. You go down New Orleans. You may want to what happened in New Orleans. Stay in New Orleans. But reflection. You don't want to get attached to some shit in New Orleans. Fuck around one night only turn into a lifetime. I'm just trying to tell you. They said it's a couple warlocks down there too. It's a couple, just a little pinch of them. Just a little pinch of a little warlock down there.
Would you believe that this guy and this guy are the same person? If you live in New Orleans, maybe you've seen him around. Although if you have, I'd suggest that you probably run the other way. Either way, if you don't know who he is supposedly the vampire of New Orleans. Saint Germain was born sometime around the 16 or 1700s, but there are other reports of a man with these similar features dating all the way back to Christ. This man was a close acquaintance of figures such as Voltaire, Catherine the Great, Marie Antoinette, King Louis, Casanova, and so much more. There are some reports that even say that he was there when Jesus turned water to wine and was a part of the Council of Nicaea. There were reports of Saint Germain sightings all over Europe until 1784 when he died in Germany. But in 1793, he was seen in the crowd at the beheading of Marie Antoinette, which would have made him about 100 if that were true. But how did he get to New Orleans? In 1902, a man by the name of Jacques Saint Germain buys one of the most prestigious properties in New Orleans at the corner of Ursuline and Royale. It's said that he immigrated from France and was a descendant of Saint Germain. People who would party with him would often say they never saw him eat, only drink red glasses of wine. Jacques had been accused of attacking a young woman. The police gave him the courtesy of coming into the station the next day, but when he never showed, they decided to take a visit to his place. When they walked in, there was no Jacques. There was no furniture, no cups, no plates, no utensils, only wine glasses and remnants of something that appeared to be wine, until further testing determined that it was actually wine mixed with blood. In the 1970s, this man, Richard Chanfray, came forward as being the Count himself. He went on to tell a wild story that he was a vampire who had been living and just decided to roam and made his home in New Orleans. Although in 1983, Chanfray reportedly unalived himself in Saint-Tropez. Although if you're in New Orleans, there are sightings of a man named Jack likes to harass tourists from time to time and play tricks on them. And he kind of looks like Chanfray and Jacques and the Count.
So what you think about that reflection? They said if you out there visiting New Orleans, now I don't know what she was talking about with the wine and Jesus and pardon sea and all that shit reflection. I don't know about that. But I do know she said tourists, if you go out there touring and shit reflection, looking and sightseeing and shit, they said it's a little, I got that feeling, it's a little spirit out there reflection. They like to play tricks on you, and it's been around for years and years and years.
So when they told you to reverse it, all she was like saying is like she was giving you stuff to do. How long it took for you to reverse it though? Because you said you had to go to the river, you had to go to the lake. You said, huh?
It was a stream anywhere. It can't be nothing still.
Right.
It got
to be flowing.
Moving.
Yeah.
It got to be moving. It had to be moving, and it had to be going upstream and not coming downstream. But that's rare to find. You would have been doing some traveling to run across that, but. My first day out, after she told me that, the first thing I had to cross that river, go to a nursing home. Off on the side, right down, I'm going to tell you where it was, right down there where we were fishing at under that bridge. That river.
Oh, the time we were fishing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I pulled that truck off right down there where we parked at and got them jugs and filled them up and put them in the truck and brought them on back home and started doing what she told me to do.
So what you had to do with the water, though?
I took the water. The first ones, I drained them out after I bathed. But the last one, I had to keep and then fill that jug back up with that last wash I took.
Oh, okay.
And bring it back to that river and pour it back in that river. I've been alert ever since.
Ever since. Hell yeah.
Ever since. I'm thinking all the time, the kindness she was doing to me, but because she and my wife were best friends. Never was no friend.
Nah, it was just to get close to you and put that shit on you.
No. Never was my wife. Just used my wife because they were mentally incapacitated.
Right. Got you.
And her husband wasn't worth a shit. And my wife had a good husband, a family man.
Right.
And that's what her mama always wanted.
Mm.
She didn't want her with the guy they call him weed cutter, Wilford. That's who she was married to.
Mm.
But he wasn't about that. Things done.
Mm.
You got to know, each one of these do a certain magic that produces a certain spirit.
Keep taking frames out. Makes it ridiculously easy.
All right, Reflection, don't go down there to New Orleans for a one night only and fuck around and need you a reversal, because you know you'll get what I'm saying. I'm just saying, Reflection, don't fuck around, get out. You need you a little do you believe in magic? Come over there talking about tea. I need a reversal.
Would you guys like to hear a story when I was in New Orleans a few years ago? I'm gonna make this quick because I got a Pilates class in 10 minutes. So my ex-wife and I decided to take a trip to New Orleans just to go on a vacation. And keeping in mind, I've never been to New Orleans until that one time. So we booked a hotel at the DoubleTree there. And when we got there, we checked into our hotel room. When I tell you guys, when we got to our hotel room and as soon as we opened that door, my ex-wife and I started feeling this heavy feeling as soon as we stepped through the door. Another thing I want to add, I'm very sensitive to energy, but my ex-wife, she was not very sensitive to energy like that. Like, she could go somewhere and be like, I don't feel anything, unless she was just suppressing it or something. But the energy was so heavy in that room, you guys. I told my ex-wife, I was like, look, we can go to, a whole nother hotel if you want to. And she was just like, no, it's okay. It's fine. Let's just, it looks really nice. Let's just settle in. So since she wanted to stay, I was like, y'all, I could not take that shit. Like, the energy, I'm shaking now talking about it. The energy was so thick, you can literally cut the shit with a knife. So I wasn't taking no chances. I prayed over the walls. I recited the book of Psalms 23. I literally channeled my inner ancestors, like, when it came to that room, because I did not play. And the funny thing about it was, once I was doing my little prayer work, touching every wall in that room, touching every wall, reciting, my ex-wife was like, I feel a little bit better now, right? So after all of that, we decided to stay. So later that night, y'all, I had to take a deep breath because, shit's about to get real, right? So later that night when we went to bed, I was actually in a state at that moment where I was like between worlds. I believe they call it lucid dreaming. So I was laying in my bed that night and I turned over and looked at one of the corners of the room, and y'all, I saw like an emaciated looking man or demon or whatever the hell it was, with gray skin, no clothes on, with eyes as red as fire. And the crazy part about it was that in this dream state, I was able to sit up in my bed that night. And when I did, I looked at that thing. I just sat there and just looked at it and stared at it. But the crazy thing about this whole experience was that that entity in the corner of that room did not move. As a matter of fact, that thing was looking at me like it was afraid of me. When I tell you that thing was sitting in the corner of that room like this, I am dead ass serious, y'all. I swear I saw that thing and he was looking like that. He didn't come close to me, or whatever it was. It didn't come close to me or nothing. So when my ex-wife and I woke up that next morning, the room felt lighter. The room felt very light. As a matter of fact, when we went out and did our little festivities, in the French Quarter in New Orleans, we had a good time. We had a blast. And we actually slept peacefully the other 2 nights that we stayed in that room. I don't know what kind of protection my ancestors or my mother have over me, but I will say this. My mother does prayer work like it ain't nothing. Like, she is a prayer warrior. And my mother also told me that my grandfather used to practice, if you know what I mean. And her mother, my grandmother, she told me that her prayers were so strong that they probably literally could raise the dead. But when I tell you guys that these spirits in New Orleans are real, that was my first time going. And I heard all kinds of stuff about New Orleans, but that was a personal experience for me. Please leave in the comments of like,
she said, baby, let her know what's really going on. When you went to New Orleans, was it a man in your room too? Let her know. Let her know. Reflection. She said, motherfucker had astro traveled in her room. One thing about me, baby, if I would have felt even a little pinch of darkness, if I would have felt even a little pinch of a dark cloud, baby, even a little pinch of Oya inside is anywhere in the room and she is not happy, reflection, I would have been up out of it. I would have said, hell no. We got to get up out of here. No, I don't care what you can't feel. I feel them spirits. We got to go, baby. No, pack up all your shit. Get your soap. Get the tissue and everything. What I say, get the tissue. No, but we can get tissue. Get the tissue. They said that's just you, Sarita. Hold on, then. Don't make me push you off my spaceship. Get the tissue, baby. Both packs and let's go. We finna get another room because I'm not staying in here. I ain't finna wait on them